Good morning. My name is Tom, and today we're going to talk about the shenanigans in Congress regarding the budgetary cliff. Side note, I'm actually on vacation. I probably don't know what has happened yet, if anything, but I know that now is probably an appropriate time for this video to provide context for whatever the hell is going on. So we need to understand the recent history of what's going on with the House, the GOP in particular, and, the budget. So if you remember Speaker McCarthy, things didn't end well for him. The Look What You Made Me Do caucus made a lot of hard demands that had to be met, or else they wouldn't allow the budget to pass. Okay, well, he successfully met their demands. And then they decided that's not good enough and this is ridiculous. And they moved the goalpost. And they kept moving the goalpost until it became apparent that they had decided under no circumstances would they allow a budget to pass. They were deliberately trying to crash the economy. They wanted that as a campaign issue. They wanted to crash the economy. And they wanted to blame it on Biden and say, look what you made me do. Because, they're adults. Adults with seriously stunted developmental problems, but adults. So, he said to hell with it, and he's not exactly politically savvy. I mean, you notice how many votes it took for him to get the speakership. And he didn't exactly... I mean, they called it bipartisanship, but he didn't actually do anything bipartisan. He steered everybody directly at the cliff and said, we're going to continue on as we did before, or it's going to shut down. Vote on that. And the actual adults in the room, at least enough of them, came together and said, yeah, we're not crashing the economy. Okay. So, what happened next? The Look What You Made Me Do folks decided McCarthy didn't need to be Speaker anymore. He betrayed them, despite the fact that he gave them everything they wanted. They were just lying about what they wanted. That was interesting, because he was also the last powerhouse in terms of fundraising that the GOP had in the House of Representatives. And while he blamed the Democratic Party for not protecting his speakership and blamed them and said that's why he was no longer speaker, he knows who's really at fault, even if he won't say it out loud. And so he didn't even finish out his term. He left Congress. And it seems he's not really interested in continuing on doing fundraising for the people who are really responsible for the vote that ousted him. Then we move on to MAGA Mike Johnson. Oh God, no! MAGA Mike Johnson! Turns out he wasn't as MAGA as people thought. He is an ultra-conservative. But it's important to remember... MAGA is not at all conservative. In the rank and file people, the outer party, remember who they are. It's in that book. They call themselves conservatives. There is a word for what they actually are, because they believe themselves to be conservatives. They are not fascists. They're a sort of proto-form of. Now, the MAGA people in Congress, they actually are fascist. And Mike Johnson, is ultra-conservative as he is, he's not one of them. He's not the powerhouse of fundraising that McCarthy was, but he is way more politically savvy. And so in the next budget crisis, he did true bipartisanship with the Democratic Party, and at least for a very brief period of time rendered the Well, the Sedition Caucus, irrelevant. And he went ahead and gave the moderates, moderate Republicans and the moderate Democrats, something they could say they're happy with and brag about to their voters. In return, they protected his speakership, including the Democratic Party. The progressives in the Democratic Party got nothing, but that's not actually a loss for them because they weren't getting anything anyway. You can't lose what you don't have. And the Look What You Made Me did, folks, they got nothing. And that is a loss for them because their influence was crushed, as is proper. All right, fast forward. We have things going wrong in the world. Ukraine is still at war with Russia, and that will continue for some time, though it's not going well for Ukraine since some folks decided to hold it hostage in order to get a border deal. Israel and Gaza, that's a whole nother cluster. Not as much of a crisis because Israel is one of the most advanced militaries on the planet. And let's just say the things they're using their technology to achieve, not something that I would be proud of if I were a part of their military. But because politics, we have to give Israel aid that they don't actually need. But that's how politics works, I guess. And, we're not giving foreign aid to Israel that they don't need when we're not giving foreign aid to Ukraine that they do need, especially when Hamas does not pose a threat to the United States. And Russia actually does, despite the narratives to the contrary. In fact, they're a threat to all of Europe, really. And by extension, the United States hegemony, the U.S. influence, our ability to do business, our wealth, our strength on the global stage, which eventually turns into our strength at home, and our wealth at home, and our security at home. And this is not a theoretical threat. This is 100% real. All right, so the GOP united, along with the Look What You Made Me Do folks, made some seriously hard demands on the border that had to be achieved, and then they would provide foreign aid. And surprise, they got everything they wanted and more on a border deal. They got a border deal that I would actually support because it was comprehensive. It looked at the actual problems, where the funding would do the most good, how to clear the backlog of asylum seekers so we could actually determine who is where and who actually needs asylum and who isn't, and actually determine, hey, this guy actually is one of the drug smugglers that we've been worried about, or this person actually is wanted for a murder somewhere. Actually fix the system instead of just, demonizing people. It was the most comprehensive border deal in my lifetime. And then the leader of the Look What You Made Me Do people said, no, that's not good because I need that to campaign on. If we fix the problem, I can't make people afraid anymore. And then I need policy, and I don't have any. And so they scuttled their own deal. The Sedition Caucus is no longer irrelevant like they were in the last budget crisis. Mike Johnson bent the knee, kissed the ring, and did his mea culpa because I guess it's a presidential election cycle. And I don't know what has happened, if anything. But now you kind of understand the context of how we got to this point. It was because a bunch of people wanted to drive outrage and literally make everybody's lives worse so that they could then blame somebody else for your life being worse. And, well, hopefully they're not going to succeed on this one. I'll find out shortly when I'm back on the grid. Good luck. Um, I'm glad I'm not going to be agonizing over this. I'm sorry to leave you on that note, or if things worked out, hey, way to go. Everything's fine. We can continue on as before. So, you know, I don't know how to end that one. Like, share, subscribe. Have a good day.